The next person we get to hear from is the candidate for Attorney General, Josh Kuhl.
Hey everybody, thanks for being here and thanks for having me. It's great to see a lot of people here I know and have talked to throughout the campaign, but for those of you I haven't met, I'm Josh Kuhl. I am the only Democrat in the Attorney General's race. Thank you. And I grew up in Oshkosh and Fond du Lac in a family that was deeply involved in public service. A lot of you know my mom, Peg Lautenschlager, who was involved as a prosecutor for a lot of her career. My stepdad Bill was a police officer in Neenah, and my mom's parents were both public school teachers in Fond du Lac. I went to public schools myself, and their interest in service is something that I saw firsthand, and that really inspired me. I spent part of my career as a federal prosecutor in Baltimore, where I worked on cases involving large-scale drug trafficking, gangs, and homicides. I also have spent part of my career working to protect our voting rights by going to court to challenge laws that have made it harder for eligible voters to cast a ballot. That includes a case here in Wisconsin where we took on more than a dozen restrictions on voting that were enacted in Scott Walker's first term in office. And I'm running for Attorney General because I believe we need change in the AG's office and because there is so much that an effective AG can do to move Wisconsin in the right direction. I think we need new leadership when it comes to fighting crime and getting justice for Wisconsinites. We've got an opioid epidemic that has been devastating for families throughout the state, and I don't think we're going to beat it until we start responding to that epidemic like the crisis it is. We have delays in the testing of evidence at the crime labs. I think our AG needs to take the lead on that issue and work to reduce the delays. And when it comes to school safety, we need to finally adopt common sense gun safety measures in Wisconsin, starting with the universal. We also need an AG who's going to be serious about enforcing the laws that protect our environment, the laws that protect consumers, and the laws that protect workers' rights. Under our prior AG, a Republican, we collected more than $3 million a year in fines from polluters. Under our current AG, it's dropped to under $1 million a year. And that's not because pollution has decreased by 2/3 in Wisconsin, in case anybody's wondering. It's because our AG has not taken enforcement nearly as seriously as he should. I believe that when polluters break our environmental laws and leave us to clean up the mess, they should be held accountable, and that every family in Wisconsin should feel safe about the quality of the water that their kids are drinking. And then third, I believe we need an AG who is independent and a watchdog so that if there is public corruption, we know that our AG will stand up against it, to make sure we hold Foxconn to the terms of the deal so it doesn't come back and try to strike an even better deal, and so that when our rights and our values and our protections are under attack by the federal government, we know we have somebody who's a watchdog for those rights and for those protections. I would be grateful to have your support. We are working hard to build a strong grassroots team across Wisconsin. Josh Kuhl, JOSHKAUL.org. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Josh. Two candidates left. The next candidate is running for Secretary of State, Gina Martin.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for having me here. How's everybody doing? Are you excited? Are you ready for this fall? Excellent. I like to hear that. My name is Gina Martin, and I am running for Secretary of State because I want to be a champion for democracy. I live in Madison. I was born and raised in Madison. My daughter goes to the same public school that I went to at her age, and I'm an enrolled member of the Ho-Chunk Nation. So I have connections all over the state, relatives everywhere, and I've worked across the state. In the last campaign cycle, I worked on voter protection, meaning I worked to make sure that voters had the correct information that they needed to be able to cast their ballot, and that clerks and election day staff also had information to make sure that the votes were counted fairly and we knew that our elections were safe. And that's what I want to do. That's what I want to do as Secretary of State. As has been mentioned earlier tonight, a lot of the duties have been stripped away over the last 20 plus years. and that's really unfortunate. I think that with the referendum on the treasurer's office, we saw that people in Wisconsin want to see the powers of government distributed across many offices, not just within the governor's office. And I think that a way that we can start addressing all these problems that we're having in our state right now, with the environment, with economics, and with opioid crisis, we can start by making sure our elections are fair and free and safe. I want to make voter registration easier in Wisconsin, including working with the DOT for motor voter registration automatically connected to your driver's license. I want to make sure that everybody has access to a proper voter ID and that no one will be turned away because they don't have one. I want to make sure that everybody can prove their residence somehow as well, so that they can make sure they can go and cast their ballot. And I want to make sure that we pay attention to the census that is coming up, so that we can have all of our Wisconsinites counted and we can redraw fair maps on a nonpartisan basis. These are the basis for my candidacy for Secretary of State: free, fair, open elections and protecting our democracy. This is the basis for our government and basis for everything that comes in the legislative and in the executive branch. And we can do this. We can clean up our elections. We can make them fair, fair, free, and open. So thank you very much for your time. I hope to earn your vote on August 14th.
Our last speaker tonight is representing our U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin. I'd like to introduce Scott Spencer.
Last 10 minutes, maybe? Thank you. My name is Scott Spector. I am Senator Baldwin's campaign manager. I apologize that Senator Baldwin is not able to join us. She's actually in Madison tonight meeting with some of the Parkland students who are traveling around the country doing voter registration and voter outreach. So she's there tonight. Hopefully some of you caught her last night, late night with Seth Meyers, talking about all the work she's doing in the Senate and drinking some spotted cow. So what I want to talk to you about is what our campaign looks like. We are, despite what the Marquette poll said on Wednesday, the most competitive U.S. Senate race in the country. And you don't have to take my word for it. We have had more than $10 million in outside money pour into this state to attack Tammy or support one of the two Republicans running. So why is that? Why are they going after Tammy? Why is all this money coming into Wisconsin, flooding your TVs, flooding the radio ads? It's because Tammy's working for us, and she's not afraid to stand up to the corporate special interests. She's the one that's standing up to big pharma, to the insurance industry, and to Wall Street. She has been there day in and day out, fighting for us in Wisconsin, and making sure that our voice is heard and taking on the corporate special interests. Our two Republican opponents are each backed by a billionaire special interest who want to promote their agenda. So they are already pumping millions of dollars into this race, and they are going to keep on doing that. So I don't want anyone to take for granted all the positive news that some of us saw in the Marquette poll this past week. We have a lot of work to be done. Sure. The work that has to be done involves knocking on doors and talking to voters. Well, policy specifics? Sure. Tammy was one of the first ones to sign on to a bill in the Senate earlier this week to call for an end to the Trump policy of separating kids from their parents at the border. Tammy has a bill called the Brokaw Act, which was named after Brokaw, Wisconsin, which separated, which went after Wall Street hedge funds that actually came into Brokaw, Wisconsin, took over a paper mill, shut it down, and left hundreds of people without a job and left the town insolvent. And so that's Tammy taking on Big Wall Street, and she's also sat down with Republicans in order to take on the big insurance companies. So working with John McCain, taking on big insurance companies to lower our prescription drug costs. Tammy's fighting for us. I know you're all taking on endorsements this weekend, and I hope you consider Tammy. Thanks so much.